Kerrville, Texas, the hardest hit by last week's flash flooding, is currently experiencing more heavy rain. The Kerrville Police Department said this morning that volunteer operations are suspended until further notice. Residents received an emergency alert that there was a high probability of the Guadalupe River reaching flood stage again today. Forecasters with the National Weather Service have issued a flood watch that goes through this evening. At least 129 people are confirmed dead from the floods along the Guadalupe River last weekend, but that death toll is expected to rise. 166 people still remain on lists that are deemed to be people missing. Not sure of the accuracy of that right now. Officials in the hard-hit Kerr County say they have not rescued anyone alive since July 4th, the day of the floods. Now, it's hard to comprehend the strength of Mother Nature. How does this happen? And what makes these flash floods so deadly? There's a lot of factors that come to play when it comes to flash flooding. According to the National Weather Service, a flash flood is the second most deadly extreme weather event, second only, by the way, to extreme heat. This is the number of deaths from 2015 to 2024 from extreme heat. Floods are next, and everything else, this is an average number, of annual deaths. Everything else is a lot smaller. Take a look at this. The heat, flooding has taken more lives than hurricanes and tornadoes. Flash flooding happens when rain falls faster than the ground or the soil can absorb it. Most flash floods are caused by slow-moving thunderstorms or storms that move over an area one after another. This kind of flooding happens in a short period of time in a flash, hence the name. A flash flood usually forms in about 6 hours or less, often within 3 hours. In fact, you're looking at an animation here. It's a little hard to see, but this was the Guadalupe River on July 4th from 12 a.m. to 11 p.m. The river rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes. If you can imagine that, the ceiling height of an average home in the U.S. is about 10 feet tall. Now picture a wall of water that's taller than the average two-story house. Most people are caught off guard when that kind of flooding happens, as they were in Texas. Often, deaths associated with floods occur at night or when people become trapped in their cars driving through flooded areas. Various factors determine how quickly the flooding may occur and where it may occur. From the rainfall's intensity to the location and the distribution of the rainfall to the land's topography to the vegetation and the soil type, some areas are just more susceptible to flash flooding than others. Mountainous streams and rivers can quickly become raging torrents, and in urban areas with less soil and vegetation, streets that are concrete and hardened, there's often nowhere for the water to go and nothing to absorb it. Areas recently burned by wildfire are also at greater risk of flash flooding. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, after a fire, the soil develops a, quote, layer that actually repels water, that very much like rain on a pavement. Rainfall that would normally be absorbed by the forest canopy and loose tree litter and duff on the ground will instead quickly run off. Now, as for what happened specifically in the Texas Hill Country last week, a deadly worst-case scenario. There was a heavy downpour, 10 inches of rain in some areas, which sent water sheeting off the hillsides into creeks, rocky areas. The creeks poured into the Guadalupe River. Experts say the geography of the Hill Country makes it one of the deadliest places in the United States for flash flooding. Joining us now is Jim Blackburn. He's an environmental lawyer and an environmental planner. He's the co-director of the Severe Storm Prevention, Education, and Evacuation from Disaster Center at Rice University. He's also a Texas native. Jim, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it, Ali. Nice to be here.
Thank you. We want to talk about this because flash floods do happen in a lot of parts of the country. And in my opinion, as a guy who follows the weather a lot, it's one of those things people don't necessarily take that seriously. They might get the warning on their phone, but they say, hey, we've had floods before. I can live through them. Nothing serious happens. This was so dramatic last week. It serves as a lesson to all of us. When you see that flash flood warning, you do need to take it seriously.
Oh, no question about it. And I think, it was the 4th of July. There was a time when people come to Central Texas to play in the river. It's a wonderful, cool spot in a very hot part of the world here. And a lot of times we just drop our guard and don't really think about what the risks are that are around. And, without a good warning system and without really, I think, an appropriate concern about floodplains generally in Texas, it just kind of leads us to be complacent and clearly a lesson that we have to learn.
I want to talk to you about floodplains. They're in Texas and they're all over the country. And you say we have a general disregard for them. And we kind of do, because we are a society that has built everywhere and it can conquer, we think, Mother Nature. But some of us live and get our recreation in actual floodplains, which means you are susceptible to flooding. And the relationship between the amount of rain that falls in an hour or 6 hours or 10 hours is not what you need. You need to understand the relationship between that and flash flooding. It's not the same thing. 10 inches over 10 hours makes you think I'm not going to flood.
Yeah, I think that there's a failure in Texas, at least, to certainly not appreciate the danger of floodplains. Flood regulation was forced upon us by the federal government to finance housing back in the 70s. There was always, I think, a hesitation, even bitterness about having to regulate in floodplains. Texas does not like to regulate. And I think our whole attitude about flooding and floodplains has been perhaps a little bit like environmental red tape. Local governments sometimes do it reluctantly and inefficiently and not particularly well. And I just think that has just an attitudinal problem in Texas, probably exists in many other states as well. And it's something that has to change, because these are danger zones, and with climate change, they're only going to get more dangerous.
When you get on your phone a flash flood warning, what should you do? How seriously should you take that? Is it really dependent on where you live in the country?
Well, I think certainly it depends on that. I mean, here on the Texas coast, we're flat. Up in the hill country, you've got that hill country topography. The rain comes down, it's limestone rock. You don't have a lot of infiltration with the hard rain. Now, with the slow rain, you do, but with the hard, fast rain, like what they had up there over the 4th of July, 4 inches an hour is an incredible rate of rainfall. And, it doesn't go into the ground. It comes running down. And like you said, it fills the ravines. The ravines fill up. They go down to the creeks fill up. And all of a sudden, they all converge on the river at the same time. And if you're not prepared to leave in a very short amount of time, you really have nowhere to go. And I think that's what really happened here, is people were captured by that wave of water, and there was no way to get out quickly without losing your footing. And once you've lost your footing in that type of flow, it's impossible to regain it.
I hope there are lessons to learn from here. Jim, thank you. Well, we appreciate your time this morning. Jim Blackburn is the co-director of the Severe Storm Prevention, Education, and Evacuation from Disaster Center at Rice University.